From our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
And 6 months after its foreign owners told workers it was shutting down, King Island Dairy has been saved. The community is celebrating tonight as Aussie investors swoop in to keep the cheese rolling to shelves around the world.
After more than a century of cheese production, the world-renowned King Island Dairy was due to close in coming months, its foreign owners struggling to turn a profit or find a buyer. But today, the news 60 workers and the community have been hoping for.
Blessed are the cheesemakers. It's a remarkable comeback victory that King Island Dairy has been saved.
Canadian dairy giant Saputo confirming it's been able to offload the factory, shop and 2 local farms.
People of King Island can rest easy tonight. In fact, they can have a little celebration for and on behalf of the workers at Saputo who are able to keep their jobs.
The company that bought it, King Island Dairy 2 Proprietary Limited, was only incorporated on Monday. Company records show it's run by 2 Australian businessmen, one of them Hobart-born, and has links to Brisbane-based Olympus Cheese, which produces feta, halloumi and yoghurt. It's a day of celebration for workers after 6 months of uncertainty.
They never gave up, they never surrendered, even though the sword was hanging over them and they didn't know if they'd survive beyond the middle of this year. They gave themselves the challenge of making the best cheese ever.
A major employer, the closure would have had a devastating impact on the island's economy. We've tried contacting the new owners but don't yet know whether all jobs will be retained.
We know that more of the same isn't the answer. The new owners will have to come in with great enthusiasm and great entrepreneurial prowess, and they're going to have to conduct significant reform.
Nick Kelly, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, Federal Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek has been slammed by both sides of the Robbins Island wind farm debate after again delaying a decision on the controversial Northwest project. Tasmania's Chamber of Commerce says the uncertainty is undermining the state's economic potential, while the Bob Brown Foundation says it should be scrapped over fears for critically endangered bird species like the orange-bellied parrot. A decision on the 100-turbine wind farm now won't be made until after the federal election. The owner of Hobart Private Hospital could be on the brink of collapse, according to a federal MP who's calling for the state government to step in. Healthscope has assured the community it has no plans to close, but previously has confirmed it will shut down its maternity service from August.
This cohort, some of the 300 registered nurses embarking on a career at the Royal Hobart before April, helping plug a growing gap in the public health sector workforce.
I chose nursing because I want to work with the community and helping people, saving lives.
But not even a block away, Healthscope's woes continue. Concerns raised about the ongoing viability of the Hobart Private, coming just weeks after announcing an end to its maternity ward.
It's groaning under $1.6 billion of debt. It's defaulted on the terms of its loans and it's behind in its rent on 11 of its hospitals.
While Healthscope maintains it has no plans to close the private, it did acknowledge a national viability problem.
That we have the ability to stand up quickly, to work with stakeholders and to put forward solutions. We will ensure that private hospital remains in Tasmania.
But there are calls for a backup plan regardless.
So what do we do as a country? This is a crisis. We are at a crisis point. It's not just this hospital, it's not just this company.
And if we want patients to continue to choose and have excellent care in private, then we need to make sure the private healthcare system remains viable.
Australia's peak health body, the AMA, now wants to see a private health authority, which would address urgent reforms and shortages within the system. It says that would help restore the right balance between public and private healthcare, putting insurers in the spotlight.
What there isn't is any actual oversight as to what the private health insurers need to pay back from the premiums they're taking from patients.
Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
A lack of answers around recent mass salmon deaths is bringing Tasmania's Environmental Protection Authority's response under scrutiny. The Greens are concerned the agency isn't taking action swiftly enough on the issue and lacks the powers and resources to investigate ecological issues thoroughly.
The EPA seems to be completely missing in action, and this does reinforce the need for stricter powers and more funding for the EPA.
Deputy Premier Guy Barnett says the agency has an important role to play for the environment, which is continuing inquiries into the incident. Tasmania has officially cut the ribbon on its first green hydrogen production and research facility. The nation-leading technology is set to play a key role in the state's uptake of renewable energy.
This site in Lutana, built in the 90s, has been home to traditional industry, but now it's marking a clean new era with the launch of Tasmania's first green hydrogen facility.
This is a really important milestone today.
The centrepiece of the new site, a 700 kilowatt electrolyser, one of the most advanced in the country, which is controlled by a high-tech DC hydrogen microgrid, turning renewable energy into green hydrogen, capable of pumping out up to 262 kilograms a day.
If I was a person driving my car and I had a hydrogen fuel cell in my vehicle, I could have 40 cars running on the hydrogen that we produce from this facility per day, going over several hundreds of kilometres.
The facility, operated by the Blue Economy Cooperative Research Centre, will also be used for research and training to explore ways hydrogen can be used.
It's lighter, it's more dynamic in terms of its ability to be moved easily, it's noise-free in a lot of applications.
Hydrogen buses, a potential example.
We can emulate any commercial scale real world scenario and run it here and optimise it, so when it's really built, it's actually built fit for purpose.
While the state government has a long way to go if it hopes to reach its ambitious goal of 200% renewable energy generation by 2040, it's confident in the progress it's making.
If we're going to double our energy generating capacity, we need to substantially lift our load taking capacity, and hydrogen has a very important role to play.
Anthony Dodd, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, ask anyone in the football world about female trailblazers, and Peggy O'Neill is usually at the top of the list. At the helm of the Richmond Football Club for many years, Peggy has now turned her attention to calling for women in leadership roles.
She was the first female club president in the AFL and steered Richmond to their first premiership in 37 years. Now Peggy O'Neill is calling for a shift in culture.
Participation has increased, and it's great to see so many girls and young women taking part in that great sport. But I think we still need to have opportunities open up to run the business side of sport.
Sharing her wisdom at an International Women's Day lunch hosted by the Devils and the Jack Jumpers, Peggy spoke about how organisations across the board would benefit from being more inclusive.
It shows that women can take on all these jobs, the talent's there, and unless you include that talent, you're really missing out on a lot of progress.
A sentiment echoed by many.
Diverse perspectives bring about innovation, and ultimately they bring about better performance.
An NBL, for example, there are 45 teams that compete in the men's competition and 2 female CEOs in that. That is not a good enough statistic.
While Tasmania is punching above its weight when it comes to female trailblazers, Peggy says there's still more work to be done.
But as long as we can still keep counting how many women and how many big roles, there are not enough women.
There's some advice for girls and women dreaming big.
Just get in there and have a go.
Find a way to do it.
Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmania News.
More than $1 million worth of push bikes were stolen in Tasmania last year alone. And when police find them, it's often hard to find the rightful owner. But by registering yours with BikeLink, you can make sure it finds its way back home.
Because cars are easy, they've got registration numbers. For bikes, we've just got a serial number. So if you can help us get it back to you, we will do that for you.
We encourage people to take whatever measures they can, not only registering with BikeLink, but perhaps buying a good quality bike lock and make sure it's not left unattended.
That website is bikelink.com.au. Well, as the federal election looms, Clarence Council is putting in its wish list, calling for $60 million of federal funding for a proposed regional sports hub on Hobart's eastern shore. Located at Bayview Secondary College, the development would include indoor and outdoor sports courts, a gym, 3 ovals and a community pavilion. It's hoped it will address a significant lack of sporting facilities in the rapidly growing area.
In the next 10 years, this part of the Eastern Shore will be 20,000 people in population. It'll be a satellite city within a city. The demand is through the roof. This will not only allow sport to be played locally within this area at a high level, it'll also have a knock-on effect in terms of jobs.
The project is expected to take several years to complete. Lake Rosebery has reopened to the public following an 8-week operation to clean up a massive oil spill. The popular fishing spot in Tulla has been off limits since January, when 4,000 litres of oil leaked into the lake, affecting 26 kilometres of shoreline. The Health Department says recent testing has shown the water is safe for swimming and trout caught in the lake are safe to eat. A few booms will remain in place as part of final clean-up efforts. The public is urged to avoid those areas. A grieving mother determined to get justice for her son is calling for tougher laws and longer jail sentences to protect children. It follows the death of her son Caelan, who was shaken and killed by her boyfriend, who is now serving 6 years behind bars for manslaughter.
A mother determined to get justice for her son.
Caelan was the happiest baby you would ever meet. He lit up any room that he walked in, and just with a cheeky grin that everyone fell in love with.
His life taken too soon after he was violently shaken and dropped into his cot by Ms Butler's former partner.
It's heartbreaking. Caelan was 10.5 months old.
Turning her grief into action with the launch of a campaign, Caelan's Law, pushing for tougher penalties for people who harm children.
For stronger sentences in relation to mostly shaken baby syndrome, but also possibly any sort of child-related crimes.
Hoping other families don't have to experience similar tragedies.
Even if I can just change so one family doesn't have to be dragged through the court system as much as we did, it's not going to bring Caelan back, but hopefully I can help someone else.
Daniel John Ridges was sentenced to 6 years behind bars for the manslaughter of Caelan with a non-parole period of 3 years. With time now served, he'll be eligible for parole by the end of next year. The Attorney-General says it's his intention to take advice from other jurisdictions.
I'm very concerned, and I will be taking further advice, and specifically Queensland. There's been a Sentencing Advisory Council report with respect to infant homicides.
Caelan's mother is hopeful her son's legacy will benefit future Tasmanian families.
I am going to push with all the strength that I have left. It's going to be a long, hard road, but I'm determined to push for it.
Rebecca Gardiniera, 7 Tasmania News.
Labor remains up in arms about the potential privatisation of Metro Tasmania, claiming it would result in fewer bus services and increased fares. The opposition says routes have already been reduced on Hobart's eastern shore, with hundreds axed in 2023, none of which have been reinstated.
Everywhere around the country, we have seen that when public assets are privatised, the services get worse and they cost more. Tasmanians can't afford that.
We do want to have a good look at our government businesses, our government business enterprises, to see in terms of their effectiveness, efficiency and customer service is a top priority.
Labor says Premier Rockcliffe is selling the state's public assets in an attempt to fix budget blowouts. Special Olympics Tasmania has been given a huge $50,000 boost raised by Tasmania police officers on their annual charity bike ride.
We try and raise for the small organisations that are working locally within the community, helping young Tasmanians, and that's exactly what Special Olympics are doing.
The 300-kilometre ride in December raised $100,000. The other half donated to Down Syndrome Tasmania. After 18 years, the event has raised just shy of $1 million. A peaceful afternoon at Launceston's Cataract Gorge has been interrupted as fire crews work to contain multiple small vegetation fires. Swimmers watching on from first base and as bombers drop water on the blazes, which are believed to be deliberately lit. There's currently no threat to the public or property, but Duck Reach Pass from the gorge has been closed until any damage can be assessed. Authorities are investigating. TasTAFE is considering sacking half its teaching team for automotive training, sparking outrage among students and stakeholders. The Institute's plans would also force apprentices to travel to Launceston to complete most of their studies.
It is a conversation that I've had that I might need to drop out because I cannot afford to go to Launceston.
There has been no consultation. It's been an absolute disgrace. And the way that our staff members have been told, they were being made redundant, some via email whilst they were teaching.
The state government says it's committed to continuing TasTAFE's education and services. A view of one of Tasmania's busiest roads has been named this year's Glover Prize winner. Judges of the prestigious painting prize say they were blown away by the work and the age of its artist.
Hobart's Brooker Highway like you've never seen it before. A combination of dreamy pink and bright yellow jumping out to the judges.
I felt like it was really glowing and emanating from the room.
Taking months to finish, artist Aisha Sherman-Noth was inspired by the view from her Hobart house.
It's right there and it's very interesting to me.
Named Weeping Birches on the Avenue, Aisha's shedding no tears.
I didn't think it was a possibility that I could win, so it was quite hard to believe initially.
Now $80,000 richer, the 24-year-old is the youngest ever Glover Prize winner.
The impact of winning a prize at this age and this stage of a career is massive. It just propels you forward to limitless possibilities.
From a rubber duck floating on a peaceful river to a pair of creatures dancing on toadstools, the 42 finalists showcase a rainbow of perspectives.
Everyone experiences places differently, so I just like the idea that you can show your own perspective.
The competition broadening our horizons of what landscape painting can be.
It's quite a diverse prize this year. There's a lot of abstraction, a lot of colour, but also a lot of monochrome.
The Glover Prize opens to the public from tomorrow until March 16. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's favourite food festival may have wrapped up for this year, but organisers of the Taste are still spreading the support, presenting a $10,000 cheque to Hobart City Mission. The charity is facing a growing need for food relief and crisis accommodation as we approach cooler months.
That amount will help us run our emergency relief program for an entire month, reaching hundreds of families in Hobart who are desperately in need of support.
Hobart City Mission is now calling on other organisations to follow suit and dig deep.
Nothing short of a miraculous Queensland collapse will allow the Tigers a shot at the Shield final. They're on the verge of a home pitch humiliation. The Bulls, who also need an outright win to play the decider, declared on 425. Our top scorer, Jake Weatherall, on just 55. Tassie collapsing 265 runs short.
There's trouble here. And he's hit him and he's gone. Riley Meredith has been run out in a mix-up.
The host sent straight back to the crease. Opener Niv Radhakrishnan only surviving 28 balls. The Tigers still trail the Bulls' first innings total by 194 with 9 wickets in hand and 2 days still to play. Meanwhile, Tim Membry and Harry Perryman will debut for Collingwood tomorrow in a side that's just missing Jordan De Goey and Dan Houston from their best 23 to play the Giants. And it seems the whole team was packed in Adam Kingsley's office as Launceston product James Leake learned he'll make his AFL debut for the Giants in the clash. Leake has been biding his time since being picked at number 17 in the 2023 draft. The Paraquad state titles are underway at Elfin Sports Centre for Boccia. Tassie's best and a couple of competitors from New South Wales are going head-to-head for a shot at glory, plus a spot at Nationals, and then perhaps the Australian team.
I'm in the classification BC5, which is just a bit too high for the Paralympics, so maybe New Zealand, which I can compete in.
This is my first comp. I've only been training for 6-7 months. That fella I just played then, I think he's been playing for like 20 years or something. So there's some pretty experienced fellas here.
The gold medal matches are played on Sunday. And Kim, that's your Friday Sport.
Okay, thanks Nick. Well, Kyle Wicks will join us after the break with your long weekend weather forecast.
Good evening. It was 21 in Hobart and Devonport today. Launceston and Bushy Park had the state's high of 27 and 22 at Burnie. 25 at Luncheon Hill and at Grove. King Island and Friendly Beaches 24. 23 on Flinders, Low Head and Strawn both 22. 21 at Lyowini and 18 at St Helens. Cloud is seen contracting to the north and central plateau this afternoon, but there were mainly clear skies about the south. Low cloud is visible across the state and coastal parts of New South Wales. Tropical cyclone Alfred is offshore to the east of Brisbane. Tomorrow, a high pressure system lies to the east of Tasmania as a trough extends along the coast of WA. Winds 10 to 20 knots about the north, tending northeasterly about eastern waters, with variable winds to 15 knots elsewhere. Southwesterly swells increase to 2.5 metres. 25 and partly cloudy in Hobart tomorrow as we kick off the long weekend. Fine at Medina with 28, 27 in Oatlands with cloud clearing there. A bit of cloud too in Launceston, 28, Devonport mostly sunny, 24, partial cloud in Lyweenie, 21's the top. Partly cloudy skies extending to Burnie, 23, Strawn sunny, 26, and much the same in Marrawar with 25. 24 for St Helens and Orford tomorrow with some cloud about. A perfect day in Swansea with 27 degrees. Sunday, fine apart from light showers about the north, although they're more likely to fall about the northeast. Remaining warm on Monday, but morning showers will develop about the south and east, extending to most remaining districts, and the chance of a possible thunderstorms remain across the north. And on Tuesday, showers about the south and east continue, with those possible thunderstorms extending to the west. Further across the country tomorrow, a few showers in Sydney and Perth, both 27, a cloudy day in Canberra, 26, a warm day in Melbourne, 32, but warmer still in Adelaide with 36 degrees. Clear across the state this Friday evening, 16 in Hobart, 23 in Launceston and 19 at Devonport. We are certainly spoilt for choice this long weekend, Kim. Now we've got the Hobart Comedy Festival happening, Steam Fest, the Tasmanian Tomato and Garlic Festival, Taste of the Huon and plenty more. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, the festive season continues. Thanks very much, Kaya. That is all your news for now. Enjoy your long weekend, everyone. See you Monday. Good night.